Do you know that 90% of prospective clients reach out to their law firm via phone? That's why more than 3,000 law firms use CallRail to answer, track, and convert every lead. When your law firm uses CallRail, you can answer every call even after hours, quickly identify high-value leads, meet clients' needs faster to improve their experience, and use data to improve your marketing campaigns and land bigger cases. All seamlessly integrated into your case management system. CallRail helps your law firm grow faster. Start your free trial today at callrail.com/JTN. Hey, legal besties, and welcome to Ladies in Law. My name is Michaela, and today we have a very special guest.
I'm Mary Ellen.
And Mary Ellen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Mary Ellen Murrah. I'm the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Vista Consulting Team. So if you don't know what we do at Vista, we do operations consulting for personal injury law firms. Everything under roof, from their looking at their intake process to all of those things under roof, what the case workflow looks like, your accounting, your internal marketing, all of those things to look for areas of efficiency and effectiveness.
It's like really important things.
It is. Operations is something that people ignore, and it's so important to get that business of law piece right.
Yes, I bet. Have you always kind of been in the legal sphere?
Yes, I've spent almost my entire career, which is more than 20 years at this point, in that plaintiff's personal injury space. I was with a nationwide case management software that sold specifically to personal injury law firms for 17 years before I joined the Vista team.
Wow. We are lucky to have you in this space.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's important work you do, because I think sometimes it's nice too to have like an outside perspective, you know, where it's sometimes you're so close to it and it's like, well, this has worked for us, but it's like, but is it working? And what does working look like to you? And then I feel like that can be such a deeper conversation.
Oh my gosh, such a good point. People get so mired in their own four walls.
Yeah.
And so having just that outside perspective to come in, either to boost you up and say, hey, there's a lot of stuff you're doing right.
Yeah.
Or to say, there's some things here that maybe could use some little tweaks to be better.
Yeah, it's important. I think that's like important in every aspect of life too. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, no, it could be working, but it could be better.
Absolutely.
You know, and having that growth
Yes.
mindset of like, yeah, we'll take the parts that are working, and if they're not working, then okay, we're gonna like look at that. Could it be better?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to be better? That's also an important question to answer for yourself.
Yes, I hope the answer is yes.
yeah.
For me, it's yes. But
Yeah, same. It's like, I want that for you, but do you want that for you? You know, what has your journey been like? Because you hold an incredible badass title, and so it's like it takes a lot of work to get there. So, what has your journey been like to get to the space that you are in now?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying it's a badass title,
Yeah.
especially coming from the attorney of the year. I think it's so important that as women, we do recognize and we don't minimize those accomplishments that we have, because there is a tendency to minimize that or shrink that or say like, oh no, I'm just whatever. No, like we both have badass titles. So let's own those badass titles, right? And that journey's been interesting. You know, I started out at the case management software. It was small. I came in as director of marketing. And by the way, I had no business with the director of marketing title, because I sort of came in, it was almost an entry level position, but I had this big title that I kind of had to just immediately step into and live up to. And I didn't have any leadership training. I didn't have any, like, this is what it means to be in charge of people or projects or things like that. So a lot of that was really floundering my way through it, making a lot of mistakes. I hope learning from those mistakes and, you know, becoming a better version of myself, wanting to be better. And sometimes it was kind of fighting tooth and nail to say, no, I deserve to be in this space. My voice is important here. And just sort of like showing up with a confidence that I feel like I've always had a high level of confidence in myself, even as a little girl. But sometimes even when you believe in things that you can do, stepping into a room and sort of proving your worth, and I'm putting that in air quotes for the folks who aren't here in the room watching, can be intimidating, or it can be like, you know, do I belong in this space? Oh my gosh, should I know these things that I'm walking into? And I feel like that's a hard thing to do, and something that I have had to psych myself up into, and that I've gotten much better at over the years.
Yeah. Well, I think riddled in what you're saying is like a certain level of intentionality too, because I think sometimes it is less effort to just kind of give in to the like, you know, like I'm not being respected when I'm, you know, like this is just sadly my reality, versus what am I going to do to make sure that my voice is heard? What am I going to do to make sure that like there is a level of respect I am, you know, commanding? And I think that a lot of the times that's easier said than done, because also I think there are certain environments that are just not going to.
Of course.
And so it's like, what are you going to do with that? And who are you going to surround yourself to make sure that those voices are louder? But I think part of what you're talking about too is knowing that life is like a learning curve.
Yes.
And I hate making mistakes, but also I know that my best lessons are through them.
Absolutely.
Because I never want to feel that way again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like that's also kind of what you're saying is like I didn't always know and I didn't always have the answer, but like what did I do in those moments when I didn't have the answer? And so for you, what did you do when you didn't have the answer? Did you trial and error? Did you reach out to a mentor? What was kind of your process like in those times?
Yeah, and I think it was probably a mix of many of those things. I think I had this false belief in my head when I started out in my career that, oh, what it means to be a good leader is I have to know everything. I have to know all the answers. I have to step into this role and sort of show everybody in the room that I know things. And both through trial and error of that not be. I mean, that's the best leaders, the best people that you want to work with are not people that know it all, are not people that come with all the answers. They're the people that respect the subject matter experts in the room, that have a certain level of humility and come in and say, look, I don't know about this, but you do. Tell me about this thing. Help educate me on this thing. And stepping into that role in a way that leaves room for mistakes or is honest about the mistakes, to say to your team, like, look, I whiffed that one. That was not great. That was not my best moment. I was not my best self. I want to acknowledge that and move forward. And it can be a hard thing to do, but I feel like people respect that so much more. And we're all humans, right? We've all had those moments. So likely somebody who is in a possibly position of authority over you, being able to admit like, look, I did make a mistake there. You have so much more respect for that person. I mean, I have so much more respect for people who are willing to come into a space like that and admit that something didn't go right. Or, hey, you know what? We're going to try this. I don't know if this is the right way to go, but we're going to give it our all. And whatever happens, happens. And we'll debrief after.
Yeah.
You know?
God, that's so real.
Yeah.
And also, unfortunately, a rarity, I feel like.
Yes.
You know, because I think sometimes a big part of this field can be posturing, or it can be just like the vibrato. And so vibrato, is that the right word? Bravado.
Yes.
Oh my God. I said that and I was like, wait, that's la 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 la.
Yeah.
Bravado. And so I think that when you can kind of take that step back and be like, I am a human being. Like, you are not only showing that it's okay to not know everything, you are also showing that if someone needs help, they can come to you because you've been real with them in the moments where you didn't know everything. And if a mistake is made, I would always rather curate an environment where someone feels safe to bring that to me, as opposed to hiding it or brushing it under the rug or just hoping no one ever sees it. Because we can tag team this together. We can try and make it better. We can see what we can do to fix this or whatever. But if it's being hidden because you've created an environment where you expect people to just kind of always be perfect around you, that's not realistic.
No. And you can have a culture of high performance. You can have a culture of, hey, you know, we expect good work. We expect high things, but it's never going to be perfection. If that's the expectation, everyone's going to fail because we're just not going to ever live up to perfection. But we can live up to, hey, the expectation is high. I can rise to meet that expectation. But when there are situations that I feel comfortable and safe saying that. Or pushing back on, hey, this is the expectation of me. Maybe this isn't a fair expectation, or maybe, you know, you haven't communicated the expectation. Everybody wants to do a good job when they come to work, but sometimes we don't know what good job looks like.
Yes. No, that's so true. And especially even just like being in the personal injury space, every firm operates so differently.
Yes.
Every firm has their thing. And so if you have only ever been there and then you switch to a new place, you might think that the thing, whatever the thing is the same. And it might not be. And so I think having the expectation conversation is huge with, you know, someone who is your leader, someone who is a client, anything, because it's like, if you have expectations that I don't know, I want to know them. I want to know if I can meet them. I want to know if I should temper them, or if I can kind of meet you in the middle and tell you, okay, I have a different expectation. Let's talk about why. Like, this is what my thought process is. What's yours? And maybe we're talking about the same thing. We're just saying it differently.
Yes, exactly. And that's why it's so important, even at that interview stage when firms are interviewing folks to come onto their team. I mean, that's an expectation setting conversation on both sides right there. And so the best hires and the best team members, the best fits are going to be when you've had that expectation conversation. And when I come into this role and I know this is what success looks like in this role, these are the KPIs I'm expected to hit, this is what I'm expected to do. And if there's something that's on that list that I think, hey, I don't think I'm going to meet this, that I can raise that red flag before it becomes an issue.
Yes. Yes. Because I think at the end of the day, we all want to be doing a great job. We just want to make sure that our great jobs align. And like what it means the same thing, because I think success is such a subjective thing. Yes. It means something very different to many different people. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, you know, like it's okay. Like as long as like we know what that means to you, because if your idea of success is being able to travel, or it's being able to have a safety net or a security, like all of these different things, you know, we can come at them from different ways as long as we are understanding that it's okay.
Yes, and we sometimes refer to that within our Vista team as yardsticks, right? Like we all have different yardsticks of success. Maybe money, I mean, for most of us, money is one of them, but autonomy may be one of them. You know, being able to spend time with my family, being able to travel, like you said. I mean, everybody has different yardsticks. And so if we design everything for one person's yardstick, we're shoving round pegs into square holes all over the place, you know?
That's so true. We're talking about traveling, and I'm going to use that to kind of go into like conferences.
Yes.
Because I had the privilege of meeting you at a conference. And so, well, in person, finally.
Yes.
I feel like
meet my real internet friends in person.
Literally. And something that like I have watched you do is just like interact so beautifully with people. Like I just think that you do a great job of just being warm and open and personable, and I want to know, like, is that something that you feel like has been innate in you? Is that something that you know, strive really intentionally to do? Like, what is kind of the way that you go about it? Because I know, like, you are someone that creates space for others, and that's not always common.
Well, first off, thank you for saying that. That's such a huge compliment to me to say that I'm a person that creates space for others, because that is my intention, is to create space for others. And I think, you know, going into a conference for many people who aren't just like the typical like type A, I want to own this room kind of personality, it can be really intimidating to step into a room where people know each other, conversations are already happening. You don't know people in this room and you're sort of the big-eyed person on the side. Like, where can I insert myself into this? And I don't know that it comes naturally to me to be able to just walk in and insert myself. So I do have to have that psych myself up moment of like, okay, you got this. You've been in this industry for a long time. My wife is, I've talked about this before, but a huge like hype person for me.
Amazing.
And so I can't tell you how many times I've sort of called her from the corner to be like, okay, I'm freaking out right now. I need to walk into this thing, and her just like pouring into like her belief into me of like, you got this. Nobody knows you better than you. There's a reason that you're in this room. I mean, really just like giving you like the hype. And I feel like that is so important to have somebody on your team and your family and your life who believes in you so deeply that you can say, all right, you know what? You're right. And then you have that courage to walk in there. And it just takes like one person to sort of like extend their arm and invite you into the conversation. And then it's fine. And if we all say like, we know what it feels like to be that person who's big-eyed in the corner, if we all extend our arms to say, I see this person, come into this conversation. Hey, tell me about yourself. I feel like that is creating space for more people, and it expands my network. I get to meet somebody, I get to know a little bit more about them, and hopefully be that person that made them feel safe and welcome in a space that does not always feel safe and welcoming.
Yes, that's just so incredibly important. And I think too, what you're talking about with networking is like, I think sometimes networking can look like just in the workspace, but I think we have a network of people around us all the time, in our family, in our relationships, in our whatever arena we are in, it is a network of people, and it's important. I mean, like, I'll say this, like, I have a friend who I know I will always, like, if I am hungry and I don't want to go somewhere by myself, they will always be down to eat with me. I have a friend who is like down to sit on the couch and just not talk, and we just watch a show. You know, it's like, some people have like a hype song that they play to get them in. You have a hype wife who is like that for you, you know, like, that's so cool. And it's amazing to have someone that, like, you know, in different areas of life you can go to, and they are what you need in that moment.
Absolutely. And I mean, I feel like we are fortunate enough to have those people in our lives, and not everybody has those people. Yeah. Not everybody has a family that is a hype person for them. And so that's why I think it's even more important to be that warmth in the industry and be that person that, you know, extends their hand. And it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you extend your hand and you wish you had it.
I know. I've been there.
But, you know, that's the risk you take. And if I extend my hand 15 times and one time I wish I hadn't, then those other 14 were still totally worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that's just like riddled in like your being is like being like so incredibly inclusive. Can you tell me a little bit about like how you how we want the world to be more inclusive, but also how like us as an industry can be more inclusive, and how just everyone operating in the world can just.
Yes, I'm not sure I'm going to solve the world's problems of being more inclusive. I don't know how long we have for this podcast, but I wish I could solve that. And again, thank you for saying that I'm inclusive. I mean, I am part of the LGBTQ plus community, and so I think being part of that community maybe makes me a little bit more hyper aware of spaces and what that inclusivity looks like. And maybe in my brain, there's a little bit more scanning going on. Hey, am I in a safe space here? Is this a space that's okay for me? How much do I reveal about myself in this space? And so I know what that feels like inside to have to scan through the room and see like, all right, is this firm going to be cool with this when I talk about it, when I'm there for an assessment? Do I keep that to myself? Am I going against who I am as a person to not say that? Am I somehow like betraying my wife by not talking about that or sort of sweeping that under the rug? So you have all of these like mental gymnastics that go on in your brain where you're like, okay, what do I have to do? And then you realize like, well, those are the mental gymnastics I am doing. Every single person has some set of mental gymnastics that they're doing, right? I mean, the world is a little wild right now, and that's putting it so mildly, but you know, things feel like they're burning down. You have team members at your firm, no doubt, that are dealing with all kinds of heavy things. And I mean, that may look like, hey, I'm part of a marginalized community. Hey, I'm worried about immigration. Hey, I'm worried about my family. Whatever it is, we're all going through those mental gymnastics in some way. We have something that we're worried about. So I think if we all can keep that in our minds, it's not that hard to understand that everybody out there is having a rich, wonderful life, just the same as you're having a rich, wonderful life. And I think that what we can do to, you know, foster that inclusivity is just be mindful of language. I mean, I think you've no doubt seen at conferences, there are so many times, and it drives me nuts when we're only referring to attorneys as men. We're saying, hey, the guys down the street, hey, the guys who do this. And every time it happens, it's like a little like stick under my fingernail where I'm like, what are you doing? Yes. And even in spaces that are designed for women, I think there can be more inclusivity there, because I find, you know, people will say like, oh, you know, and then you go home to your husband. Well, not everybody in that room, A, has a husband. And so, and B, wants a husband, wants children, you know, so I feel like if we're just a little more mindful of our language, and then, you know, something that is interesting is sometimes when people say things to me like, you know, oh, what does your husband do? It's not upsetting to me. You know, I will just gently correct them. And then it becomes this huge deal. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I shouldn't have assumed. And now it's this whole conversation, this whole big thing that's gone from like, we're just trying to connect as humans to now I'm like sort of soothing you for this thing. And it just gets weird. So, you know, just using that language of like, hey, tell me about your partner. I feel like you sidestep all of that. And it's really not that tough. And when you do mess up, because we're all going to mess up, we're not perfect. Just, you know, hey, I'm so sorry about that. And then we move on. Like, that's all you need to do.
That's all you need. Yeah. And I think that like, thank you for saying all of that and sharing all of that. And I think that we could do such a better job of just being better humans. because it's what you're saying. It's just being intentional. And it doesn't harm me to think for 1 second more about being intentional about the word I am using. It is just, I try and be intentional every time I'm speaking. I try and very intentionally speak and say things and think about how I'm saying them and how they can be received. And I think that that's like the least I can do to make sure that I'm creating a safe space for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I want people to feel safe and accepted all of the time. And it's like, why are we not all operating with this mindset of just wanting people to feel included in a space?
Yes. And especially in the personal injury space. I mean, the clients that firms are working with, injuries do not discriminate based on some like set of criteria. So your clients are everyone. So I feel like if you take the moment to say, not only in these networking spaces, but also in my conversations with clients, how can I create that language that's more inclusive? How can I look at, as a law firm leader, look at our handbook and say like, ooh, there's some things in here that maybe could be a little bit more inclusive. When I signed up for, I tell this story because it's just like, you don't think about it, right? When I signed up for our health insurance, there was no space. There was only a space because I clicked female. There was only a space for me to enter a husband. So it was like a whole phone call to like get this corrected because I don't have a husband. And it's like things like that, like just being intentional about what your forms look like and what your client conversations look like and the kind of questions that you're asking.
Yes. And it's hard too when like you are constantly placed in a position of advocating for yourself to be in that space or for that to be something that needs to be included, and especially when you're talking about like, if you do the gentle correction of like, oh, well, my wife does this. And then it becomes this thing where it's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I and then every time they see you, it's like, I really didn't mean it. And it's like, well, now you're placing me in a position of having to make you feel better. And that's not fair either.
Exactly.
And now this is becoming a thing. And like you said, like the mental gymnastics of being like, okay, do I say this? Do I not say this? Is it worth it? But am I, all of the things is just like, if someone could just say like, tell me about your partner.
Yeah.
Just like certain things where don't assume. Just like, it doesn't need to be hard.
It really doesn't. I mean, I think we've just solved all the world's problems right here, Michaela.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Join us next time.
Yeah, literally. But it really, like, it doesn't have to be hard. And I think that, like, I appreciate you talking about it. Because I think that like it should be a conversation because we should hold people accountable and we should want to be better every day.
We should. And I feel like, as women, we may see at conferences, hey, everybody's using this gendered language or there's this mantle and there's not enough whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we do see that. And I also think it takes other men in the industry seeing that and speaking up about it 1000%. And saying, hey, I saw this agenda. Did you think about contacting Michaela for this? Because she would be an amazing speaker for this and having her up on the stage. And, hey, this magazine could do with an article from this person. And there could be other voices here.
Yes.
I think that everybody in the industry could do a better job. Again, it just takes a minute to like step back and think and say, hey, let me look at this agenda with some fresher eyes.
Yes.
And
there's a gap. What is that gap? And what are we going to do about that gap?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think it's important and necessary. And I love the way your brain works.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. I want to ask you too, one last question. If you could give little Mary Ellen or girls like little Mary Ellen any piece of advice, what would it be?
I love this question. And I'm going to tell you a little story because it's very much who I am. When I was in, I think it was like 4th or 5th grade, we had a career day at school and we had to dress up as what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I put on like Sunday church clothes and put on a little name tag that said my name and said, advertising executive, I think it was something executive.
Shut up.
And I feel like nobody else in the class was dressed. I mean, people were like, I'm a doctor, I'm a whatever. Yeah. And I was like, I'm an advertising executive. And I feel like little Mary Ellen felt like I had so much confidence, like walking in there and being like, yes, I'm going to be an executive when I grow up. And I feel like at some point you start losing that magic and start losing that spark and start doubting yourself. And, the world kind of beats you down a little bit or you're like, hey, do I belong in this? I would love to tell little Mary Ellen, like, keep that confidence and spirit and excitement about who you are and what you do and walk it into every single thing you do in your life because there's magic in that. And if we could help little girls not lose that magic, oh my gosh, we could solve the whole world. Not just on this podcast.
No, literally. God, that's so important. Just keeping that spark and like allowing your voice to be the loudest.
Yes. And not apologizing for it.
Yeah.
And not saying like, I'm not going to introduce myself like the badass that I am.
Hell yeah. That's amazing. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. So are you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you next time. You did so great.
Oh my gosh. And look at us, 25 minutes.